What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Mind Hiking Podcast. I'm your host, Brody Frye, and today we're going to be taking lessons from one of my biggest influencers and motivations in my life. One of my biggest motivators in my life. One of my biggest mentors, though he's a man of few words. It's my boy, Baron. Amazing dog. So upbeat, happy, resilient. He's incredible. He's my best friend. And I love him so much. So we're going to learn some lessons. I'm going to share with you some lessons that I've learned from him over the years. So hopefully you guys enjoy. I really enjoyed recording it. He was sitting right next to me. So stay tuned. Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Brody Frye, and here we dive deep into difficult questions. We'll map out thoughts, theories, and crazy ideas for the love of knowledge and growth. So, how do we answer some of the mind's toughest questions? This is the Mind Hiking Podcast. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. And today in the studio, I've got my resilient little chocolate wonder pup with me. And Bailey also. But everybody knows her. She's always got a lot to say. But Baron, my buddy, my boy, he just got out of surgery yesterday. And I haven't posted anything about it. My fiance Katie has. But he had a small lump on his chest. And we took him in, and originally we thought it was a bite from Bailey, because that's happened before where Bailey just gets him good because they wrestle pretty hard. And then after a week it didn't go away, and so I was like, okay, we got to take him in, because that luckily I'm fortunate to have a vet that I'm close with, and so I just messaged him. I just texted him photos, and then he just said, we'll take a look at it, and I brought him in, and he was pretty concerned with it, especially with Baron's age, and he said, we got to take this thing off immediately. So they rushed him into a surgery, and then it was like 10 hours later we were able to pick him up, because they did a bunch of other blood tests and things. And again, I still didn't even have the results from, they sent it was a tumor. They sent the tumor off to get tested. He said that once they cut it open, it was a lot larger and more spread out than they thought. So they had to take out more. And so he's got a large portion of his chest cut out. But he is a tough boy. He was raised farm tough. And we picked him up, he was all droopy and drugged up and and wagging his tail. And he's just such a strong boy. I wish I was even half as strong as he is. He's been through a lot, and I respect and love him so much, and I'm so grateful for him. I'm so lucky. But he right out of the vet, he's wagging his tail, comes home, and he's stumbling over because he can barely walk, and just like flopping his tail and trying to be playful, and then he just kept plopping over because his legs were so shaky and weak, and He kept trying to get back up, but he stayed high spirited, and and then this morning, I'm super grateful to my fiance for being able and willing to stay home with him all day today. So he didn't have any accidents or anything. He has a lot of stitches, obviously, but I didn't want him bumping anything or anything. He can't. It's high up enough on his chest where he can't get to it. But I just didn't want him bumping it, or with Bailey, our other dog, miniature Australian Shepherd. I didn't want her going at it or picking it, or even just like wrestling with him and trying to play. And so, very fortunate that Katie was willing and able to stay. And so otherwise I would have had to bring him to work, which I'm fortunate enough to have a really lenient working environment, and I'm grateful for them for allowing me to take the time off for the surgery and on such a short notice, and for the ability to do things like that, like bring Baron in if I need to. And so he's doing good now. We're still waiting on the results and what to do from here on out, but he's such a strong boy, and he's doing good. We're just being careful with him right now. But he's so strong and so resilient, which is what I want to wrap this episode around today. And before I get started on this, I'm going to take a little break because I think Bailey is going to start barking. She thinks she needs to go. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back. Sometimes she gets a little antsy if she's locked in here with me for too long, so she likes to keep moving. She's very high energy, but Baron was just dozing off on the floor next to me. So, it just inspired me to, like, his attitude is incredible. He's so strong, so resilient. He's just like his daddy, internalizes everything, and he's a tough boy. Funny story. He plays like this stoic style role, and like we'll let him outside, and we got our wooden deck, our patio, like our little deck, and there's a few stairs, like 3 or 4 stairs down, and overlooking the backyard, and he'll just sit down, and in the deck obviously butts up with the house, so he'll just like sit down on the top of the stairs there and just like lean up against the siding of the house and overlook the backyard, and he just like stares and watches. And like Bailey will be like barking to come back inside, and I'll walk over there and look, and she's like sitting right at the door, like wanting to come in, barking, and Baron's just like sitting over there looking off into the yard. And and that happens all the time. Or sometimes like I'll see him like laying down in the grass, like at a quality vantage point, and and he's just like staring off into the woods or looking around, and he's always like taking in his surroundings and observing the situation. He's like checking the sitch all the time. And but then when you it's funny because I don't normally take him to the groomer, but Katie had a friend that was willing to take him in, and I was like, sure. Well, she was taking Bailey originally, and then I was like, sure, you can see how Baron does. And I guess he was like sitting there, good boy the whole time, dead calm, just standing there, and then like towards the end, just starts peeing everywhere, which is very unlike him. And I think it's just like he internalizes all of his fear, and like that totally new situation. He didn't know what a set of clippers was. He's never been in an environment like that, and also the people he was around were totally new. So uncomfortable for him, but he was a good sweet boy the whole time. But then like right at the end, just started peeing everywhere, and it's just like it's just a funny story. But yeah, he's just like, I would imagine if he was a human, he's just like very wise and soft spoken and reserved, and but strong and tough, very resilient. Like one of those people that have been through a lot, seen a lot of things, and just kind of keep to themselves, but they're also the sweetest people you could meet, and they always make the best of the situation they're in and make light of the situation. And that's how I'd imagine Baron. That's how he acts around us. So but he's amazing, and the resilience of him inspires me. And maybe if you don't have a dog, you may think I'm just like looking into this too much, but for dog people, like I'm sure you have or have had a relationship with a pet, where you can say the same thing, or the same strength of a connection. But it makes me think about us, like people, as well, and makes me wonder, like where we lost that. You see it every now and then, but it's a rare trait, and like everybody's woe is me, and like my life is so hard, and looking at themselves and focusing on themselves, and wants everybody to feel bad for them. And like, why can't we be like Baron? Why can't we, like, he's so loving towards other people, and it's just like he's just got like an infinite stockpile of love, where he just continually shows his love. And and it doesn't matter how much love you've given him, and he's always there for you, and he's always wagging his tail, and it just, like, why are we so different? Why is that so difficult for us? Sometimes I wonder if it's the language, like if it's like we have more issues with each other because we can speak to each other, and we offend each other more because of the miscommunications and things. And like, maybe sometimes I think that language is more hurtful than a good thing, because we are still trying to use language as a tool. It's not a perfect system, because we're trying to describe emotions. We have our emotions and the way we feel, and then we're trying to code them into what we call a language, and then we send that off to another person who has to take that coded message in and then decode it into those feelings. Because that's all we're trying to do, is just convey messages, feelings about things. And it's not a perfect system. And sometimes I wonder if it does more harm than good, and that's why we have so many wars, or so many fights, and so many like arguments, and on and on and on. Why the human race is so dramatic It's fascinating to me. So I don't know, but it's something that we can work at still. It's obviously not the language thing. We still got to use that, but the resilience part and the positive attitude part, we can change that. We can change the way we feel. We can change the way we see things. We can change the way we project ourselves on others, and we have control over that. We have free will to do so, to choose good or evil. And you see a happy puppy and it's so easy for them to choose good every day. But for us, it's so difficult. You see people that it almost looks like it hurts them to be nice or to be happy. Like, it's just so much easier to fight. It's so much easier to be grumpy. So much easier to be sad or mad, or any of those low level emotions are so much easier to choose. And I think that's why most people do. A lot of times, in a lot of ways, I feel like animals, especially dogs, are more at a higher spiritual level than us. I feel like they care more about the world and others than we can. It's always the easy route to think about yourself and to focus on you and your problems and not even consider other people. And again, that could go back to the language thing and just the struggles with the coding and decoding of language. But that probably plays a part of it, but I think more likely, or at least a bigger part of it, is just it's easier to be grumpy. It's easier to complain about the little things. It's easier to look at the negatives. And it's harder to be positive, especially when there are more people being grumpy out there. And they weigh heavier. Because you could have one person say one negative thing to you and it ruins your whole day. And then after that, you could have 10 people say a compliment to you, but it means nothing and you just push it off like it's nothing. Why do you focus on that? Why do you focus on... You're spending all your energy on the negative. It's like you're sitting there like sucking the negativity out of what's happened to you. And you're just like, it's like a little kid with vegetables. You just push the vegetables to the side. You push the compliments to the side. Or you feed them to the dog. And maybe that's why the dogs are so happy. Because they're eating all your scraps of joy in compliments. And it's just because you're willingly giving them to them. But dogs are always in such a good mood. Have you ever seen a dog in a bad mood for no reason? Have you ever just come home to your dog and they're just in a bad mood? never seen that or even heard of that, and I've had dogs my whole life. They're always happy to see you, always wagging their tail. Or their nub in the case of my little fur daughter, Bailey. Not by choice. If it was my choice, I would have left the tail on, but shepherds, they commonly break their tails on fence posts because they're herding dogs, so they cut them off as like newborns. But she's still as happy as ever. She's tailless from as long ago as she can remember, and she is still as happy as ever. Baron's been through so much. He's got so many battle scars, missing body parts and from some of his battle scars, and he's still as happy as ever as well. It's amazing. That's why sometimes I think about it, and sometimes it's just easier to work with animals than it is with people. But we have that choice. And we can choose to push away that negativity instead of pushing away the positivity. We can choose to take our energy from the positivity and push that negativity to the side instead. And we've already discussed how the negativity weighs more, and instead of feeding off of that and then continuing it on to somebody else, and then the same thing happening to them because you just ruined their day as well, you could just feed off the positivity and then continue that. And you're changing the world. Because you have no idea how far that negativity spider webs if somebody cuts you off on the way to work, and then next thing you know, you come into work all grumpy and you piss off everybody at work, and then they all go home to their spouses and they get in fights, and then their spouses go to work the next day, and you have no idea how many people that can affect and how long that can affect them. You could make a simple choice, a simple shrug or a simple grunt or a simple comment or a simple action of cutting somebody off or pulling out in front of somebody or whatever it is, glaring at somebody, anything. And you have no idea how long that could survive. It probably will survive forever, and that's why there's so much negativity in the world, is because it just duplicates and multiplies. Just carries on and spreads, and it's like a bouncy ball in a vacuum chamber, and it just bounces, and it could pick up speed and then increase. I mean, that's not going to duplicate, but with as many people in the world as there is, and we have an infinite amount of negativity that can come out of us, I mean, we can just keep throwing bouncy balls into that vacuum chamber until it becomes fully clogged with negativity. Or you can choose better. You can choose to feed off of that positivity. You can choose to take the positivity, the good. And not only are you doing that to improve your own life, but you can't even fathom the number of lives that you're improving on top of your own. Just by a simple choice like that. And we do have that choice. It's just hard. It's just difficult because of your ego. It's hard. It's harder to be a nice person. Your ego is a poison inside of you. It's toxic, and it's a battle not even each and every day, but each and every moment. It's like lurking there. It's like waiting at your front door and just waiting for you to accidentally leave it open so it can come inside and just fuck shit up. Let's just do our best to... And it gets easier. The more you do it, it's like a muscle. You exercise it. You choose good and you choose positivity. And the more you choose negativity, the easier it is to focus on negativity, and you get into the spiral of choosing negativity. And then you start seeing more negative things around you. And then you start creating negative things around you because you start seeing them. And then you start thinking everything's negative. And then you start wondering why, like, what's the point of living? And that is unimaginably painful. But you have the choice to see the good and to take that, to eat your vegetables. The dogs have plenty of positivity. They have an infinite well of positivity on their own. You don't need to feed your positivity to the dogs. You don't need to feed your vegetables to the dogs. They're good. It's us that need them. Let's try to learn from Baron. Or any amazing fur baby in your life. All right, guys. Hopefully this spoke to you. Hopefully it reached the people that needed to hear it. And pray for Baron. I think he's going to be okay, but still definitely worried about those test results, and definitely been on my mind. So I love that dog. He's my buddy. He's been through it all with me. So, all right, guys. Thank you so much for your love and support. Really hope this spoke to you. Always doing my very best, heart and soul, trying to pump out good episodes for you guys. And it really does come from the heart, and I really do my best to make the world a better place. And I know each and every one of you guys have the power as well, so use it. And have a great rest of your week, guys. See you next week, and peace out.